Welcome back to the Panic Room, everyone, and to a digestible book review today. So guys, before we go any farther, I have to say, I was sent today's book, which never stops being cool, and yes, this shirt was a stylistic choice, because today we are talking about cannibals. The author of today's book actually contacted me and just wanted to know if I would be interested in reading his work, and you guys know, of course, I said hell yes. Because it just continues to blow me away that an author would think enough of me to do that. So, it's absolutely awesome. But today's work is Digest 10 Short Stories by Convicted and Plausible People Eaters. And can we just take a moment with the cover? Is that not awesome? I know there's a little bit of a glare, guys, but is that not cool? Of course, it's on my Kindle. But I thought that was awesome, and sometimes it's hit or miss with covers and like pictures and stuff with Kindle, so I thought this was great. But yeah, is that not cool? And just perfect for a cannibal book, right? So when David over at David's Book Review saw that I was reading this, he, messaged me and was like, hey, you should check out my video, because he has like an author clip and all of this in his video. So I will definitely leave that link down below as well, just so you can get another take on this. But guys, if you've been around here for any length of time, you know that I love me like some short story collections, horror anthologies, all of that. But I had never read something that was like solely dedicated to cannibalism. Oh my gosh, this was freaking awesome. So many stories were just super unique and funny as hell too. Like if you have that twisted, like, I read a lot of horror shit sense of humor, you're gonna love this. So first, I have to say that just the way the book is set up was amazing. It's set up with these little like blurbs at the beginning of each story to kind of give you a background on the author, which it's all fiction, but it's awesome. Just the way the book is constructed, because you get this almost like, I tell you, you know what it kind of put me in mind of? It was kind of like old school Unsolved Mysteries, where, like Robert Stack would come out with his creepy ass voice and say like, oh, such and such did this, this, and this, and give you like these high points or whatever, and then you got the story itself. Kind of the same deal. But it was awesome. It's so cool to get that like kind of news story background, because it kind of takes the reader into that world, And even though, your rational mind's like, oh, this is fake, this never happened, part of you's like, oh, but it happened at this location that's real and this day, you know what I'm saying? Like, it set that up for the reader beautifully. So guys, what I really want to get through to you before we dive into any of these stories is that this is a wonderful mix of horror and, to me, some humor, a la like John Dies at the End, or is it Carlton, the one who writes like, every time you meet at the Dairy Queen, your whole face explodes, and The Haunted Vagina and all of those books. If you like those, you're gonna like this, okay? Case in point. So right after Evan Whitmer, the author of our book today, sent this to me out of the kindness of his heart and just made my entire week, I was flipping through the table of contents and I saw the title of this one story, Jesus Christ Meets the Chupacabra. Yeah, and then I saw another title, The Life and Times of a Rockefeller Pregnancy Zombie. I'll give you a second. Let those sink in. And let me tell you something. They did not disappoint. Two of my absolute favorite stories out of the entire collection. Really, if I had to give it to one of them, oh goodness, there's so many good ones. I really have to give it to Rockefeller Pregnancy Zombie. That story was everything my little conspiracy theory loving, horror, just crazy, out there kind of humor heart loves. It all wrapped up in that story. It was so good. It was so good. And might I add that there are a lot of very unique takes. This is not your standard like, I'm Hannibal Lecter and I like to eat, people's liver with fava beans or whatever. This is not your standard type cannibal stories. These run the gamut. They all have that like cannibal undertone, obviously, but they really do run the gamut and explore some parts of cannibals that I didn't think of. If you're like a cannibal aficionado, is that a thing? Might be a thing. I still think you could get so much out of this because it's such a wide range of different types of takes. Like in some cases it's not even like what you would define as, oh, this is cannibalism. it really comes at it from so many different angles. And like I said, you have your horror, obviously. I mean, we're talking about eating people, but you also have this like real tongue-in-cheek humor that I love. I love it when I'm reading something and I'm like, holy shit, this is so weird. I love it. And I got that with so many of these stories. And I really think, like, for my horror people, you know, you guys are going to appreciate the uniqueness of a lot of these stories. Because like I said, if you're like me, you know, you're thinking like standard Hannibal Lecter type cannibal. No, not at all. This has such a different take on it, you know? And I was really shocked, I'll be perfectly honest with you guys, because I was thinking like, okay, how many different ways can you be a cannibal? It's eating people. But holy God, was I wrong. I mean, you have things about like clowns. You have things about STDs. You have Rockefeller pregnancy zombies and Jesus and chupacabras. I mean, it's everywhere and it's great. So guys, to wrap this up, I really think that for my horror people, if you haven't read anything about cannibals in a while and you're looking for something kind of unique but not too super heavy, this is going to fit the bill. Oh my gosh. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed some of these stories. Really, Rockefeller pregnancy zombie, I wish, it's one of those stories that I wish I could go back and read again for the first time. That's how much I enjoyed it. And the Jesus meets the Chupacabra one, it had a little bit of sadness to it, but it was so out there, but not in like a bad way. Because you guys know, sometimes you can be out there in a bad way where you leave the reader like, what in the hell is going on? Like, I'm lost. That's not what I mean. This was out there like, you didn't know what was going to happen from paragraph to paragraph sometimes, and as the reader you were like, yes, I'm here for this ride. And guys, you know, I really think that, you know, if you have been reading something kind of heavy, you're looking for something maybe a little bit lighter, not a whole lot, maybe a little bit lighter, a little bit of humor thrown into it, this is going to fit the bill. You're going to enjoy this. I really think you are. It is an excellent short story collection. And you guys know in the past, when I've reviewed short story collections, I've always said that there are going to be ups and downs. There's going to be ones you enjoy more than others. That was the case here for me. Of course, you know, in my head, I'm ranking them as I go through. But overall, this was a solid collection, especially if you like cannibalism, you know, in your books. I cannot get over how unique of a take this was. You know, it literally came at cannibalism in so many different ways. And, might I add, and I'm not sure if the author knew this about me, I know I don't put it out there a whole hell of a lot, but at the end of the book there was this essay, and it mentions like different dietary choices, and it goes from like vegan on down to cannibalism. And the whole sort of message that I got out of it, because it's just a little essay, was, you know, about like freedom. You know, because like, you know, if you are a vegan, you don't eat meat, so there's a restriction. Whereas, you know, if you're a cannibal, it's like the final frontier of food, kinda. And I thought that was interesting because, you know, your girl's a vegan, you know, so it's kind of cool to see that ranked. I never really thought about it like that. I guess in my head, I never added cannibalism as like the final step. But I mean, he's not wrong in that regard. You know, the rules are kind of thrown out for the cannibal in that way. So I thought that was a really cool take. But guys, to end this, I really wanted to get the word out about this. I know, you know, David has done a review of this, I want to say maybe like 8 to 10 months ago, but I haven't seen it anywhere else. And I really do think that a lot of you would enjoy this. I really do. A lot of these stories are kind of weird and unique in the best possible way. But those of you who enjoy that like horrific kind of humor, a la like John dies at the end, that's the best example I can think of, I really think you would like this. Because it had me chuckling at parts, it had some, you know, horrific body horror kind of deals to it. It was just kind of the whole package, you know. It wasn't a super heavy read, it was easy to get through. I really enjoyed it. So I hope that some of you, you know, maybe look into this and read it for yourselves, because I would love to know what you think too. And guys, thank you for hanging out for this review. I have to say I was super excited to sit down and film this because, you know, it's not often I come across a book this unique. You know, and I really think that so many of you would enjoy this too. And of course, a huge, massive thank you to Evan for thinking enough of me to send his work. That is still the coolest thing ever, and you made my tiny little green heart happy, so thank you very much, Evan. But guys, if you like this, please hit like, hit subscribe. It would really help me out. And tell me down in the comments, what do you think about cannibalism? I really think that's the first time we've ever mentioned this, like, in a huge chunk, no pun intended, on my channel. So let me know down below, what do you think about cannibals in your books? I would love to know. But until next time, bye for now.